Robin Vita is here with me today, and I'm so excited. Thank you, first and foremost, for even taking the time to join me. I know you're so busy, so I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. I'm excited to be here.
So, Robin obviously works for the health department for St. Joe County, but you also spend a lot of time with the Partnership for Drug-Free St. Joe County. So, for people who don't know what that is, what is that?
Yes, the Partnership for a Drug-Free St. Joseph County is our local coordinating council for the state of Indiana. So every county has a LCC or local coordinating council. It serves as our drug-free communities coalition. And our main goal is to reduce the misuse and abuse of all substances, whether they're legal or illegal.
And you guys target kids so much because seriously, learning this at a young age and getting this information out there, I can only assume is just key to everything.
Primary prevention really is key. And we see that in order to really reduce misuse and substance abuse disorder, we do have to target really young folks before that, maybe that first time that they're ever attempting to try a substance. And we see that that's really the best place to be upstream rather than waiting till somebody has developed a potential substance use disorder, trying to get them treatment and then into recovery. It's best, yes, to target our young folks. And we do also have Centers for Disease Control Prevention Drug-Free Community Grant. That's a 10-year grant that specifically focuses on reducing youth use of substances.
So how do you guys operate? So maybe what's the day-to-day or what's the monthly kind of agenda? Lay it out for me on what this looks like for our community.
Yes, so we are a volunteer-led coalition. So I currently serve as the chair for the partnership, and we have an executive board. So my chair, we have two chair-elects that kind of serve as my backup, and then we have a treasurer, secretary, some ad hoc members that really focus on utilizing our comprehensive community plan that's required of any LCC in the state. And it really focuses on some very large overarching trends that have been identified here in our community. So for example, it's looking at the assets we have. We have amazing community partners doing amazing things. How do we convene them? How do we coordinate and ultimately steer them to have the greatest impact in our community? So we meet on a monthly basis, the second Wednesday of every month at 10 a.m. And they kind of bounce back and forth between Zoom and in person, basing on the fluctuation in COVID-19 numbers. And then we really focus on raising awareness and providing education on things that are important to our community, important to our community partners. And then I would say one of our biggest assets as a coalition really is that most times we're able to provide some sort of resources to our community partners. So maybe it's some funding to bring in a speaker or lead a town hall or provide a booth at a big event that focuses on that primary prevention piece. So we do a lot. We're doing a lot more. We've had to re-envision ourselves a little bit coming out of the pandemic. Not most coalitions were like, hey, let's rebrand and reinvent during one of the probably the largest pandemics I pray we will ever see.
Yeah.
But here we are. We're here. We're really looking at a new image. We're really looking at being that convener of partners, so we ultimately can drive true solutions and see substance use go down here in our community.
So basically, you're this kind of hub that is made up of basically a group of volunteers that utilizes your knowledge and resources to help other community groups and organizations in our community to help continue to spread the message of, not using drugs and substances like that that are illegal.
Yep, exactly.
Perfect. So one of the things that I was so excited to be a part of was getting to watch videos that students in our community made, high school students, even some middle school students. And I thought this was really cool because they had to put together a commercial basically about being drug free. And I just love this idea. So talk to me a little bit about this, because this is the second year you guys have done that, right?
Yeah, the youth video contest is such a cool thing. And in the beginning, I have to say, I thought, how many how many kids are we going to be able to find that are going to want to spend time doing this? And I believe the first year we had 18 submissions. This year I think we had over 20, and we have already been brainstorming ways to add to that next year. But yeah, kids feel motivated to create these messages on living drug free or how to say no to drugs. What would you do if somebody approached you, right? So those refusal skills, which are so important. And then, yeah, we tasked them with developing a few minutes of a video, and they could use really any platform they could come up with. I do know some of the schools we worked with gave kids specific time, or carved out time during the lunch hour after school for them to utilize equipment and that type of thing if they needed it. And I have to say, what we did then at the very end, once all the submissions were received, we did a big red carpet event, and we invited the families and the kids to come view everyone's video and have really yummy food, play some games, and some cool prizes. And then we announced our winners, and I'm excited that those will soon be available to everybody to see how creative and amazing our youth are.
Yeah. And one of the reasons I really want to chat with you is because the two are going to be playing on WNDU. And so I really wanted to let people know, when you see these commercials, it really is brilliant because kids in our community created those. Which ones are we playing? Do you remember? Are they one a high school, one a middle school? Do you remember which ones we're doing?
Yes, I believe one is a high school, one is a middle school.
Cool.
Yes, my mind is escaping me. I just looked at them last week too, but yeah, I believe one's a middle school, one's a high school.
No problem. We're going to take a look at some of them right now.
This is my life without drugs. Instead of doing drugs, I use my time to get good grades. Instead of damaging my body with drugs, I choose to work out to keep me healthy. My friends and I don't need drugs to have a good time. In the last 50 years, over 1 million people have died due to an overdose. Let's not add to this list. This is my life, drug-free.
Meet Jenny. She's a straight-A student, a strong athlete, and never forgets to have fun. But she's always had a hard time choosing between whether to do drugs or not. She heard it was really cool. Everyone's doing it. It makes you feel good. But she also knew that they were always angry, never did well in school, and always made bad choices. And she decided she was not going to fall into peer pressure. And instead, she decided to help her friends follow their pursuits.
Drug-free isn't just two words, but it is a choice that ensures the success and health of your future. It is a choice that defines who you are and choose to be. Like Jenny, who made the choice to not let drugs get in the way of her life and dreams.
We had talked in the past, because you and I recently worked together on raising awareness about fentanyl in our community, and the fact that it's so important to have these conversations with your kids about drugs, not only in our community, but, you know, what do you do if someone approaches you, kind of just their basic understanding, just starting those conversations, because we are seeing so many different drugs circulating our community. Something that you said to me that stood out was that kids think everybody's doing it when that is not the case. So it's, again, having the conversation with these kids and giving them the power to say, no, I don't need to do that. Not everyone's doing it, and I'm not going to do it. Are we still seeing that?
We unfortunately we are. And I think nothing is as strong as peer pressure in this society. And it's, yes, this preconceived thought process that everyone is doing it. And if I'm not doing it, that I'm not cool, or I'm not going to be included, or my friends aren't going to be my friends. And when we look at it, the perception that kids think other kids are doing it or everyone's doing it continues to unfortunately go up. But when you look at it in actuality, it's a very small percentage of kids who are actually utilizing some sort of substance in the last 30 days. Now, that also unfortunately that number has risen because I think just due to some of the isolation and the pandemic and just the way some of our community structures have somewhat shifted. But I think not having the stigma that, oh, it won't be my child, so therefore I'm not bring it up to them, or I don't want to bring it up to them because then they're going to do it. We really have to begin to lay that stigma by the wayside, because there's a really good chance that they're going to be doing it or they're going to be offered it. And we want to empower our kids to say no, to come to you when that happens, to go to school leaders when that happens, because it really is important. And the partnership is a great spot to find some of those talking points. How do I talk to my child about this? When should I start talking to them about this? Christine, I know I've shared with you lots of times, like I have a small, my oldest is 7, and him and I have this conversation frequently about not taking something that isn't given to him by me or my husband. Not because somebody would want to do ill harm. It's just, they may not know that they're giving him something that's potentially harmful. So we have to acknowledge what's happening and realize that even if we're phenomenal parents, there's always that potential that my kid may say yes or may take it. And it has nothing to do with us. It'll have everything to do with me if I don't bring it up to him. But at least now he can be comfortable bringing those things to me because I've already mentioned it to him.
And it just almost seems like you said, getting in there with these kids and especially kind of giving them a task like creating a video is a great way to start that conversation, to build this camaraderie and conversation between kids, not just kids and their parents, but kids and kids saying, I'm not doing that. I'm not participating. You know, I think that's really cool.
Peers are sometimes the best advocate for other peers. And I love that. I'm excited to grow that youth advocacy piece and really empower youth and teens to think outside the box and say, you know what? No, today isn't the day. I'm going to choose this over that, or I'm going to help my friend who's contemplating doing this, and let them know what potentially pitfalls lie ahead, or finding that trusted person, right? It doesn't have to be, sometimes it doesn't have to be a parent. It can be a school counselor, a teacher, a coach, just someone who a child feels that they can connect with and ultimately has their back.
Yeah. You mentioned you guys are a great resource for parents wanting to have that conversation or some information. I know on your Facebook page, you guys are constantly posting different things on there. Are there different avenues that they should go to for other information?
Yeah, we are working on a revamp of our website. So it's partnershipsjc.org. And so you'll see updates to resources to community partners, and then also some resources to national organizations that are also looking to address these issues. So just lots of places to start. And then more importantly, I think you're connected then to a community locally that is willing to think outside the box with you. And, you know, anyone can call me. I'm gonna help them no matter what, navigate whatever situation they may be dealing with. But behind me, there's 35 other organizations that are all really trying to address similar issues.
And you may be a parent sitting here saying, "Oh, I know." You don't know, like you don't know anymore. I'm even shocked with what we're seeing. So it just, again, the biggest takeaway from when we worked together that I got was know your facts before you talk to your kids, because they're going to know when you're lying, because they're living it every day. They've heard about it, and things just are not the way that we thought they were when we were kids, or that they were when we were kids. Things have just really changed dramatically.
They unfortunately have. The way drugs are manufactured and messed with and altered, there really is no risk left here. And I think back, I'm not too many years outside of high school, and I think back to like tobacco was the big thing. And oh my goodness, I talked with school nurses recently, and the things they shared that's their day to day was life altering, because I'm like, oh my goodness, I thought I knew everything, or I think I'm helping them in the best capacity. And really there's no safeguard. There's no safeguard.
No.
And it's in edibles, it's in the vapes, it's in the dietary supplements that kids think are helping them focus and stay awake and pass exams. And it's no, it's just not. They're not safe. They're not safe. And we need to talk with kids about it.
Yeah.
So that knowledge is power, like literally knowledge is power. No.
As we said, like there's no room to experiment anymore. Anything that you thought was safe, or a Xanax, an Adderall, any prescription pill that is not from a doctor and not prescribed to you, is concerning. Even marijuana can be concerning with, as I mentioned, the fentanyl. And I know we discussed that, but that's where I say, like, it's not what it was when we were kids at all. And we're talking like life and death. And I don't mean to be extreme, but that's really the feeling I got after talking with you and several others in our community about the drugs that are circulating. And it's really just about having that conversation and letting your kids know, because you're going to wish you did if something happened,
Oh, hands down. You'll want to know what resources are available.
Yeah.
Especially when potentially you could save a life.
Yeah.
And it's hard to have those conversations or to think something like that would happen. But really it's, we have to address it head on if we want to see any sort of progress.
So I love to end these conversations by asking, what do you need? How can we help you? Because ultimately, this is why I love highlighting local groups, organizations doing good in our community, nonprofits. The ultimate goal here is shed some light on you, but how can we help you? What do you need from our community?
I love that. How can I help? Lots of ways. I think asking the questions, what should I be mentioning to my child or to the youth that I have in my life, coming to a meeting, seeing what we're all about, lending a hand when there's take back events, to get unused pills off the street so they don't fall into the hands of people who don't need them. Asking really difficult questions, I think, of our community and saying, what can we do? Asking those questions of our schools, and then providing the letting them know. So if I ask a question of a school and I'm like, school, what are you doing? And the school's like, well, nothing, because I don't know. Refer them to us. Let them know we're here. And really arm yourself with the resources that do exist, and then challenge us to be better. I think that's something too. We only know what we think we know. And we do the best we can until we know better. And I think having those voices at our community meetings on Wednesdays, or shooting me an email. I know the meetings are during the day, and that can be difficult for parents to attend. We're assessing that piece, right? But maybe it's developing a parent focus group, asking us questions, or, providing insight so we can better support you. Might be something that we look to for the future, but really being engaged, and not be like, oh, my kid won't do drugs, I'll be fine.
Right. Right. Being realistic.
Yeah. We can't think that way, unfortunately, anymore.
And I think also, again, I just feel like we just talked about this. I feel like this is so much in my life right now. But I think just that stigma piece, like, really hit home with me, is like, let's get away from the stigma almost. Let's get away from like judging each other and embrace each other and say there are resources. Let's talk about it. It can happen to anybody, no matter who you are, where you're from. And that's why we're having this conversation. We just need to keep it going. It's so important.
Exactly.
Robin, thank you. Thank you for everything that you do. I'm just really excited for people to start seeing these commercials on WNDU. I'm so proud of these students and everyone who submitted. So I just appreciate you taking the time.
No problem. Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure talking with you.